Congressman Posey, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Donaldson, has Department of Energy research grant funding and loans been used to generate actual commercial production by American companies?
You know, I would point to the work being done at the national labs to say that much of their spectacular work has a commercial application as well as the work that the NNSA labs do. So I would say yes, that's not the type of thing that is tracked by my office, so I couldn't quantify that for you.
Okay, so do you think their office has a system to measure research to commercial production?
They probably have multiple systems because there's so many different programs, but I would imagine they're doing some tracking, at least in some of those programs.
Yeah, can you get back to me on what they're doing and kind of?
I certainly can.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, when the space shuttle was winding down, NASA ramped up the number of firefighters that they had at Kennedy Space Center. Now with the launch cadence increasing from 57 last year to 97 this year, NASA's decreasing firefighters at the Kennedy Space Center. Can you tell me why? I mean, I was told there was a study on it, then I was told there was no study.
Yeah, Congressman, I was unaware of that situation until staff brought it to my attention yesterday. I'd be happy to look into it.
Okay, I have that commitment.
Yes, sir.
You'll get back to me. Thank you.
I will.
Now this question is for each of you from left to right. We'll start with Mr. Martin. How many investigations and audits has your office conducted within the last year, number one? How many of those by percentage involve China, just roughly swag it? And did any of the China-related investigations require coordination of activities across other agencies or other inspector generals? And were any of these cases referred to the DOJ?
Yes, sir. We'll start. Investigations ongoing during the past year, 482 for the Office of Inspector General at NASA. How many of those by percentage involve China? Approximately 10%. And did any of the China investigations require coordination? And coordinated with several of my colleagues here at the table, including NSF and DOE. And a goodly number of our cases were referred to the Department of Justice and are under prosecutorial consideration right now.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The statistics that I have are for 5 years, so I can get back to you on the 1 year, other than I can say we worked 175 investigations in the past year. Many of those related to China. I can, about 45% of our investigative portfolio right now are research security related matters, many of which relate to China. And we, as I noted in my opening remarks, lead a cross-government working group that's focused on these sorts of research security investigations with the goal of improving the government's efforts, especially in situations where there are multiple agencies affected by a particular researcher's failure to disclose their relationships. So we are deeply involved in that, and will provide further information for you for the record.
Thank you.
Mic is on, so they're good at that. In fiscal year 2022, the Office of Investigations worked on 320 ongoing matters. 34 were grant fraud cases. Over a third of those were research security matters related to countries of concern, and all of those pertain to China.
How many refer to DOJ?
The bulk of our cases do eventually get referred to DOJ. We made a total of 61 referrals in this time frame, not all research security related.
Okay.
But over half of what we work on goes to the Department of Justice.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
In this fiscal year, we have combined 447 complaints plus investigations in our inventory. As I mentioned, only a small fraction of the Department of Transportation's funding pertains to research and development, and consequently a smaller share of our investigations relate to China. I do not have numbers on that for you, but we could get back to you with that. As with the energy OIG, most of our investigations ultimately end up in consultation and referral to the Department of Justice. And I don't have a specific number on referrals either.
Thank you. Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes, thank you. And I'll give you as good a numbers as I can, but of course offer to come back and give clarity. We had, in the last fiscal year, 176 cases opened. The majority of those, I would say, is bread and butter, is either lab fraud or grant fraud, and that some small number involves China. And I must say that for IG Learner, her office is really the leaders for us in helping us identify China-related cases. But our work has recently resulted in a report we just issued encouraging the EPA to include grant terms and conditions provisions that require grantees to disclose any foreign sources that they get after they've received a grant. And of course, like my colleagues, most of our cases get referred to the Department of Justice.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My time has expired.